Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my blessed beloveds out there in Living and Thriving Land. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty, and I'm Rusty. Today we have Dr. Karen Wade, who will be tuning in, dialing in, calling in, zooming in, Googling live in. I don't know, but she'll be joining us at some point. I want to let you know that I'm absolutely, completely, and utterly exhausted. I just got out of physical therapy, and it my physical therapist likes to really hurt me. She's very sadistic. She's doing the best she can, but evidently I'm a tight little wad of muscle and fascia. I know. I only thought fascia was on a house. I didn't realize it was in a body too. Pretty interesting stuff. Anyway, as I get past this, I'll let you know. I'm in a lot of pain right now. We have about 175 guests total that I'll be interviewing over the next few weeks, and I'm just excited. It's been a wonderful ride. I've met so many beautiful people all along the way, and I couldn't be more grateful. This is what the world is. The world is filled with wonderful, amazing people who have done some really great things in their life, and I could not be more blessed to have all of these individuals on the show to introduce you to them as well as them to you. And there is Miss Dr. Karen Wade. How are you? I don't know. She's smiling. You're live. You're on air. Whoop, and she disappeared. Okay, well, she'll figure it out. Yeah, so anyway, that's the whole thing. I had Braca Getz on earlier today, and that was absolutely beautiful. I love her personality and her soul and her energy. She just is an interesting, amazing woman who has gone through quite a bit and come out on top. Hopefully, Dr. Wade will pop back on. We'll see. All kinds of stuff going on here in technology land.
Okay.
So Dr. Karen Wade, do tell us who you are, what you do, and why do you get up in the morning? I know for me personally, I live in the tropics and I have more dinosaurs than any book has ever been written. You know, so I have a lot of excitement and adventure. What do you do? What makes you excited?
Well, when I'm not in a pandemic situation, I enjoy doing a lot of traveling. But right now, I also live on the coast. I live on the coast of California, and so I enjoy very much beach time, walking on the beach. We have some mountains, some beautiful mountains where you can hike and you can oversee the coast, and it's just very awe-inspiring. So I really enjoy living here in Ventura, California. Yes.
I love California.
Do you? We're a little smoky right now, but it is an awesome place.
Yeah. I was up in, I used to travel up and down California a lot for business, but I went to interview for the University of California in Arcadia, way up.
Oh, right.
So beautiful. Oh my God, so beautiful.
It is. Those trees are amazing. Definitely. So a little bit more about, did you want to know a little bit more about like who I am? And okay. Well, like all of us, I'm a spiritual being on a human journey on this planet. Beyond that, I'm both a psychologist professionally as well as a registered nurse. And I've had just a really interesting career kind of going in and out of both of those professions. What I currently do is I've written a book. I'm just going to kind of like put it up right now. Career Clarity for Nurses, Navigating Nursing Through Challenging Times. And it's a combination of my experience as a travel nurse, where I got to go to different facilities in different parts of the country and do different things and meet different nurses, different people. So it's that, as well as what I learned from my PhD in psychology about designing programs and executive coaching. And then also I had a very compelling tragedy in my life. I lost my son in 2011, my young adult son. So I've really kind of constructed this process out of what I learned about resilience and recovery, and how you find your way back to joy when you've been really sad.
I hug you virtually all the way from Florida, and I admire your beauty and strength. It takes a lot to be a mama in general.
Mm-hmm.
It takes even more to be a mama in this world, and
Mm-hmm.
to lose your child. Ugh. So let's go on to the fascinating world of living and thriving. I don't know if you've seen any of the interviews, but the whole premise of this show is we're at a cafe or at a bar or on a bus, and we're just getting to know each other. I don't read very much about the guests. I read enough to know if they're what I want on the show. So it's very laid back, very relaxed. I just got out of physical therapy. So I'm tired and in a lot of pain, but you're a nurse, so you know how to give the pain, right?
hopefully comfort you during the pain.
She promises me in about 6 weeks I'm going to feel better, but I got to get through it.
Right.
So you live in California. You have this beautiful, dual career where you are a traveling nurse as well as a psychologist. So you like to pick people apart too. That's my favorite part of what I do is I like to find the ooey gooey on the inside of people, what makes them tick. Mm-hmm. And you wrote this book, but what was really the driving force behind writing the book? Why did you want to basically strip all your clothes off and stand in the middle of LA? Here I am, vulnerable as hell.
Right.
Right.
Well, I think that the practical aspect of the book is that as I traveled around, I found a lot of nurses were unhappy and kind of sort of wounded healers themselves from the stress of the job and just kind of the working conditions that nurses are in now. And that was even before the pandemic. So it's even stronger now. So I took that, and I know that a lot of nurses, to be able to feel happy again, they really need to kind of connect with their own deep wisdom and their own values. So I used what I knew from psychology about values clarification to get in there. But probably the thing that really came from my soul, so to speak, was what I learned during my grief process about emotion. I came from a place where I used to think that, I was happy, sad, I was calm, I was stressed. I mean, I could only kind of be one thing, one sort of emotion at a time. But as I went through my grieving process, I realized that I could feel both profoundly sad as well as a profound sense of love at the same time. And it was like I became fascinated, like what does sad and love mean? I mean, it's like blue and yellow. Does that makes green? So, what is this new blended emotion that I'm feeling? So I started to really explore my emotional world more, and I got back into the science, and I started reading about positive psychology again. I read a book by Martin Seligman called Authentic Happiness. And I just started allowing that, even though I was feeling just dark, sad, that there would be moments of light that would come in, and I would allow it. And just more and more, it was like kind of 1,000 points of light, that even though you're kind of in the overall theme is that you're in a night, so to speak, that there's still, beauty in the sky, that if you allow the little stars to come in to shine some light on your path. So what I learned about positive psychology and how what positive emotion does to our bodies and to our physiology just became very fascinating to me. And I'm a psychologist, and I didn't know this stuff. So I thought, well, if it's fascinating to me and I haven't heard of this, then there's probably a broader audience who would benefit from this. So I basically created the book around how to create more positive emotion in your life, which opens your mind up to more possibilities, to more creativity, And from there, for example, an unhappy nurse who's really stressed, if we can get her in a more positive mindset, she can see her life and her career in a different perspective and be more open to different possibilities. So that was really the inspiration for the book. And so I take people through like an 8-week process to go from, I really hate this job and should I stay or should I go, to really feeling a lot of clarity about, whether it's they're going to stay in nursing or if they're going to do something else, but they go through the process of getting clarity. So,
and I want to stop you there because we have enough time to get through a lot of this, but sure. I want to just kind of hone in a little bit on the reality of what a nurse is. And, I'm a celiac. I have, digestive issues. That was an 18-month battle just to figure that one out.
Right.
And I've always been compassionate with the medical field in the sense that you can't know everything. And as a nurse, as a doctor, even as a psychologist, you don't get the best side of people. Sometimes you get the back end of people.
Yes.
and that's the majority of your workload, is dealing with individuals who are, chronically in pain. They don't know what's going on. They're terrified for the most part because nobody likes to not know what's going on.
Right.
And then you have, mental health issues that you have to deal with. And there's just such a whole gamut of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I give props to all nurses in the world because that's a tough frontline job. And right now, I can't even imagine, what kind of, oh Lord. There was a time period where nurses had to work like 20 hours straight, 3 days in a row or something crazy like that. I think they changed the law where it's not quite as long, but it's still a really long day dealing with people. What do you, when you're talking to the nurses and when you wrote the book, again, I haven't read it yet, so I apologize, but that's kind of the fun part about the interview. What do you give as far as compassion to self? Because here they are, they're trained to be, in the medical field, I feel like the training is really to develop a codependent relationship. And I mean that gently because I've dealt with so many doctors on many levels with conferences and so forth that just know it all. They absolutely know it all. Any kind of ache, pain, or theory that you have on your own body, if you don't have an MD at the end of your name, it's dismissed. So it's that kind of codependency. And then you have your own personal stuff as a nurse. And then you have all of this other stuff. And we're all empathic. So that does wear on a person after a while. What kinds of steps do you talk about in regards to self-care, love? I have a lot of nurse friends that watch this show, so that's why I'm really trying to get you.
Yeah. Well, let me just say that nurses are really, really bad at self-care. In general. They're very reluctant to ask for help. One thing I started during the pandemic was something called the Nurse to Nurse Network, where nurses who are on the front lines of the pandemic and brand new nurses who are kind of being birthed into their new career in the middle of this chaos, something they didn't sign up for when they signed up for nursing a few years ago. That we offer a free mentoring program, an ear, someone to listen to them. And it's just been amazing to me because I know how much the need is out there, but yet the kind of the resistance to reaching out and asking for help is amazing. So the mental health needs of nurses are legion. Nurses are 1.5 times more likely than the other general female population to die by suicide, which means that they have elevated incidents of depression and mental health challenges. And it's something that unfortunately nursing culture doesn't allow us to talk about. So we are suffering in silence on the whole. I think that the blessing, if we can say that about the pandemic, or one of them, is that it's demanding that we have to put ourselves first. You know, we have to. I mean, just the old tired adage about when you get on the airplane, you know, put on your own oxygen first before you can help anyone else. Because the hours right now are really long. 12-hour shifts are pretty much the norm. And then if you can't, I don't think you can work more than 16 hours. So,
Yeah, I know they changed that law a few years ago.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I mean, I have a mentee, for example, now who works in a COVID unit. She puts on her PPE, and she doesn't drink because she knows if she drinks, she'll have to go to the bathroom, and that means if she has to take everything off and put it all back on again, and it's really time consuming. So you know, same with food. So we're in the situation where we're taking where our work conditions are making it harder for us to take care of ourselves. So it is absolutely imperative that when we're home, that we do whatever it is to create positive emotional experiences for ourselves. Barbara Fredrickson, who's a positive psychology researcher at the University of North Carolina, says that we need basically a 3-to-1 ratio of positive to negative emotion. So with nurses, I say that's maybe 4 or 5 because of the weight of how much of that just demanding, potentially depleting emotion. So we really need to focus when we are at home on doing things that make us happy. And I have clients, I tell them, okay, you mark out time, you make a date with yourself for happiness, and you decide in advance, what is the emotion that's calling to you? Is it peace? Is it fun and laughter? And you plan a date with yourself to, what am I going to do so I can have fun and laughter? Who am I going to have that with? Where am I going to go? What protections am I going to put around that time so that I can have that experience? I know my heart needs that. So how do I give it to myself? So we really, really have to prioritize ourselves. These, the new mind-body connections are really, really important. I mean, I just feel like this whole pandemic is going to create, it's going to just put into sharp focus the demand that we need to train nurses differently. We don't, we haven't been trained in the military. And when you're in the military from day one, you start learning how to work in crisis situations. And, we didn't get that in nursing school. So I think we have to have more training along the way, beginning from day one in resilient skills, how to really take care of ourselves, there's some new technique coming out. So how we can sort of reset ourselves physiologically from a station of stress to more kind of inner harmony. So I'm really passionate about learning about those new techniques and passing them on, because I think that's the new wave for nursing training, I believe, is really being sharp in terms of just being prepared to be in these intense situations for long periods of time. And we have to step up to that.
I wonder if, I personally am really quite fond of this period that I call it the cosmic reset. I think a lot of people are having to get really good with themselves.
Yeah.
And the reality behind our busy fast food, constantly stuffing stuff in our body, mind, and soul has ended. I mean, we're done. That's just reality. There's this as cataclysmic, cosmically just like rose the vibration on that. But I also think that we as individuals underappreciate the amount of work that our paramedics and ambulatory nurses, so on and so forth, go through. And I'm all about yoga and meditation and just get into that, get good, because they're visually, emotionally, and hormonally stimulated at these times, and that wears the entire body down. Do you think that with more advocacy and more having this conversation a lot more often, we can shift that so that our nurses are healthy?
Well, before the pandemic, it was an astounding statistic that 66% of nurses said that their job negatively impacted their health. So you can imagine what that statistic is now. You know, it's probably 99.9%, you know, with, so, I mean, I think that it's something that's always in the background for nurses, that they bring this, they bring this weight of their concern about their personal health and well-being, you know, with them onto the unit, and it's a heavy energy. Whereas I think we need to own that. And, you know, one of the things that really kind of makes that worse is that sometimes, I mean, and there's some places where the teamwork among nurses on a nursing unit is fabulous. And then there's other places, I've learned this as a travel nurse and, you know, working in different places. And then there's some places where there is just, you know, strife and disharmony, and people are sniping against each other. And there's, you know, shift wars where a day shift blames night shift for this and vice versa. And so there's this, I mean, just there's this strife. And I think that we really need to recognize that we are all wounded healers, and we are all bringing something to work that is of concern. And more like the metaphor we have, you know, from the military, where, you know, they leave no one behind. You know, if someone's down, they pick them up, and, you know, even if they're dead, they pick them up and they will not leave them on the battlefield, you know. And we need to have, I mean, I think we need a transformation of love to, and I talked about that in chapter 4 of the book, really a transformation of love for each other, so that we can, I mean, it's that is part of the next wave. I think what is up in the future for nurses is creating that sense of love and teamwork together, so that we can do this even more demanding work that is showing up for us now. It's what we're being called to, and we have to step up to it.
Well, and I think there's an evolutionary process that's transpiring right now. You know, you're either going to get good with yourself, or you're going to continue to find petty reasons to just be miserable within yourself. Mm-hmm. And this is really shining the light on people who are literally taking their masks off, which is kind of God's funny way of being like, haha, you have to wear a mask, but really you're taking it off. Yeah. And, you know, the cosmos always has jokes, but on a serious note, you know, it's very difficult, I think, to get 5 people in a room for a really long time under that kind of pressure and not have them snip at each other once in a while. I mean, it's more intimate than marriage or your family.
Right. And if you make a mistake, the consequences are very grave, and judgment comes upon you, you know, in great measure. So yes, it is. We nurses and healthcare professionals in particular are going to be called to being, we have to evolve into greater, wiser, more generous, loving spirits, for sure.
I'm thinking that really should come from the top to the bottom, or do you think that the top and the bottom need to meet in the middle? You know, CEOs and the business-minded people and the people on the front line.
Well, I think it would be lovely if it started at the top. And it would be, I'm an organizational psychologist, so I did corporate consulting, and we always kind of headed for the top. But if you aren't getting it there, you can create a better day for yourself and for your colleagues. If, you know, it takes really one strong person on a unit to shift things, one person, one relationship at a time. And so don't wait for the top. There are ways, chapter 4, there are ways you can do that even now when you're in your daily life, and just, you know, improve your experience for yourself and for your colleagues.
All right, so we're wrapping up because tick-tock goes the clock, right? What are the top 3 things that you would highly recommend that all of the women out there, and men, I apologize, old school, yes, that watch this show, that are nurses, that are on the front lines everywhere in the world, honestly, and some of my mental health nurses that are out there, hi girls, top 3 tips, tricks that they can do today to start a better routine or a better habit?
I would say carry around in your pocket 2 prayers. 2 things: the loving kindness meditation and which you can find everywhere, which is a way to kind of offer peace to yourself and to other people. And the other is the prayer of serenity. You know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the, you know, the wisdom to, you know, that one. Because you're going to need those every day. So carry those two prayers and meditations around in your pocket and use them as needed. Secondly is get very wise and very comfortable about how your body reacts to different emotions, and learn what you can about, there's wearable technology now that can kind of alert you to when, oh, your breathing's kind of hard, your heart rate's going up, to learn the techniques to kind of center that back down. So make use of technology. So the prayers, the technology, and then when you're at home, unpack it. Whether you have, if you've had a especially real, don't let the residue build up. Like as you're sitting in your car before you go home, record in a little journal, you know, what happened to you, and kind of reverence it, and then let it go. All of these really, you know, intense experiences, interactions with people, the deaths, the sadness, you know, to record it in a reverential way, and then to let it go so that you can then go and have your happy experiences when you're at home.
For me personally, blare the music, rock it out. It doesn't matter if you look like a Muppet on your way home, just get it out of your system, because there's so much that is tied into being on a high level stress situation day to day like that. I mean, your cortisol levels, your molecular values just, so,
Right.
you know, comedy, sing.
Right.
I don't care if you can sing, do it anyway, have fun with it. And I think that helps a little bit, but I really want to have you back on at a later time, because I want to delve in a little bit deeper into how we as a group, as a society, as a team of listeners and viewers, and you and you know, the powers of above us, how we can really influence or encourage or support this new chapter in the medical field, because it's so needed. It's so needed. And I've run across a couple of cranky nurses over the years, and I just kind of go, yeah, I'd be probably cranky too. You just had a 3-year-old who has a gash across their face, and they just ripped their stitches out after getting them 5 minutes ago. So, you know, there's just this chronic
Right.
stuff. And so I definitely want to invite you on at a later date to continue this conversation, but show us that book again.
Okay, it's Career Clarity for Nurses, Navigating Nursing Through Challenging Times. You can actually get a free, it's available on Amazon, but you can also get a free copy if you go to Career Clarity for Nurses. That's Career Clarity, the number 4, nurses.com, and you can download a free PDF, and then you can decide if it's worth getting, you know, buying the book on Amazon. But you can get it.
It's worth it because it's almost the holidays, and what better gift there is other than to lay in the bathtub with bubbles and some really nice jazz or blues and read a book. That's my favorite thing to do. Love it. Where do we find more information about you?
drkarenwade.com, so drkarenwade.com.
And did you want to promote your nurse network again?
Yes, sure. For nurses who are on the front lines of the pandemic, and also new nurses, like in your first year or so of nursing, Nurse to Nurse Network, so nurse number 2 nursenetwork.com. And you can sign up to be either a mentor or to be a mentee to get assistance.
Perfect. And do you have any last words for everybody?
Well, I was reading some quotes on resilience, and one of them said, when your heart is broken, make art with the pieces.
Oh, yes, girl. Yes. My favorite.
Thank you, Rustie.
Thank you, Dr. Ward. All right, you're watching Living and Thriving with Rustie, and we have 175 of these amazing people that are doing amazing things, not even realizing how they're impacting the world, but maybe they will, or maybe they don't care. Maybe they're just doing it because they're cosmically called to do it. Who knows? I think Dr. Wade has something more to tell us, and we didn't get through it all today, but hey, we got tomorrow. Why not? Know that you're loved. Know that you're beautiful. Go and dance. Nobody's watching you through your windows anyway. You can do it naked if you want. They're all on their phone playing those Bejeweled games. I'm telling you. Go and take a broomstick, knock on your neighbor's door, make sure they're still alive, throw a couple of cookies at them, make their dog bark. That's always entertaining. Grab a Nerf gun, throw some water balloons, go finger paint, heck, jump in a puddle. Go and have fun. Life is short, and if anything has taught me anything, it's tell a lot of dirty jokes. It's okay. It's all right. You gotta laugh. You gotta smile. You gotta live, because you know what? Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Yesterday is far behind you, and you can't even remember half the day anyway when you get to be my age. So right now is all we got. Enjoy it. Until then.
Bye-bye.